Have you ever wondered why some men leave a mark that time cannot erase? Why a woman, even years later, might recall a man she met only briefly, with a quiet reverence or a deep emotional memory? It's not just charm, looks, or charisma. There's something beyond the physical that lingers. Why women feel a soul-level impact long after meeting semen, retained and spiritually awakened men, and how this connects to the journey of semen retention and spirituality. This isn't about manipulation or tactics. It's about inner transformation, where your energy, presence, and integrity speak a language the soul understands. When a man is walking a sacred path of retention and conscious living, he radiates something rare, something unforgettable. Let's explore the layers of this powerful phenomenon, the power of unexpressed vital force. When a man retains his semen, he is not just conserving fluid, he is holding on to life force energy. This energy is not only biological, but deeply spiritual. In most men, this vital energy leaks constantly through uncontrolled lust or distractions, but when retained, it becomes focused, radiant, and magnetic. This magnetic force has a silent but undeniable presence. Women who are naturally attuned to the energetic and emotional frequencies of others unconsciously sense this retention. It's not just sexual energy, it's creative, disciplined, and rooted. A retained man doesn't have scattered attention. His gaze is steady, his voice resonates deeper, his walk has purpose. This coherent and concentrated energy creates a distinct spiritual imprint that lingers even after he leaves. This kind of man isn't chasing pleasure or validation. That makes his energy non-threatening and safe, yet powerful. His presence doesn't consume, it uplifts. And when a woman experiences that, even for a moment, it plants a seed in her soul, a feeling of something sacred just passed by. And sacredness is not forgotten easily. Energetically, this is imprinted in the aura. A retained man's aura doesn't have the usual holes of lust, desperation, or ego projection. Instead, it's a shield of light and stillness. When a woman enters that field, it recalibrates her nervous system and emotional frequency. Even if she can't explain why she feels different, she may not remember every word spoken, but she'll remember how she felt in his presence. This explains why women can carry the memory of such a man long after he's gone. Not because he tried to be memorable, but because he was present, whole, and aligned. That kind of energetic integrity resonates beyond time and physical memory. Emotional alchemy and spiritual anchoring. Semen retention sharpens not only energy, but emotional awareness. A retained man begins to master his impulses, triggers, and reactive patterns. He doesn't get pulled into superficial drama or emotional chaos. Instead, he becomes an anchor, a lighthouse in a storm. And that's rare. When a woman meets such a man, even briefly, she encounters someone who sees beyond her appearance. His attention is not consumed by lust, but guided by soul. He listens, not just to her words, but to her silence. He responds, not out of need, but from presence. That emotional availability and spiritual attunement touch something deep within her. It heals, affirms, and awakens. This interaction becomes an act of emotional alchemy. Her usual defenses soften, her masks drop. She might share things she's never told anyone. Not because she planned to, but because the space felt sacred and safe. This kind of man reflects back her soul, not her wounds, and being seen at that depth is unforgettable. Furthermore, the spiritually retained man doesn't absorb or drain energy. He holds space. He becomes a mirror and a witness. This creates an energetic imprint in the woman's subconscious. It's like meeting a part of herself she had forgotten. The interaction becomes a doorway to her own awakening. Long after the meeting, she may return to that memory, not out of romantic longing, but spiritual reflection. Why did I feel so whole in his presence? What was that peace I felt? These questions stay alive in her, because that experience wasn't about attraction, it was about transformation. The depth of nonverbal communication. Words are only a small fraction of human communication. The retained man, through silence, eye contact, breath, and energy, speaks volumes. He doesn't need to impress. His presence expresses the inner mastery he's cultivated. That's what women remember, not just what he said, but what he didn't need to say. In the subtle dimension, his energy is felt more than heard. A handshake, a glance, a moment of shared stillness, all these carry signals. Women are wired to feel this. Even if the conversation is short, she feels his presence in her body, calming, grounding, and awakening something ancient. This is the space of sacred masculine presence, where no validation is needed, where stillness itself becomes intimacy. The spiritual man, rooted in semen retention, brings depth to every moment. And because most human interactions are shallow and rushed, this depth stands out starkly. In a world flooded with noise, haste, and superficiality, the retained and spiritual man becomes a living contrast. His slowness feels like grace. His groundedness feels like home. His lack of neediness feels like freedom. These qualities activate the feminine at her core, and even after he leaves, that feeling remains, like the lingering scent of sacred incense in a room. She may go on with life, but she'll never forget the way his silence made her feel safe, the way his gaze honored, not devoured, the way his energy respected, not pursued. Quantum imprint and soul recognition. Now let's look at this through the lens of energy fields and quantum imprinting. Every interaction leaves behind an energetic trace. When a man is filled with retained energy and high spiritual frequency, his field interacts with the woman's field in a deeply subconscious way. It leaves a soul-level imprint. This isn't fantasy. In quantum physics, it's known that particles entangle when they interact. Human beings, being far more complex, do the same energetically. When a spiritually refined and sexually disciplined man interacts with a woman in authenticity, a subtle imprint happens at the level of her energy body. It's not about possession or romantic impact. It's about soul recognition. Many women describe meeting such men as familiar, ancient, or like meeting someone I already knew. That's not coincidence. When the man has aligned himself with his true essence, he begins to vibrate in resonance with universal truth. And truth always feels familiar to the soul. This is why she may think about him during meditations, dreams, or moments of spiritual reflection. Not because of desire, but because the meeting itself awakens something real inside her. A forgotten potential, a desire for her own wholeness. The man becomes a symbolic memory of her own spiritual nature. And even if she never sees him again, the encounter may become a turning point in her life. She might change her relationships, her spiritual path, or even the way she views love, because in that short meeting, she experienced something that most relationships fail to offer, a glimpse of the divine masculine, the legacy of presence and inner purity. In the end, what truly leaves a soul impact is not what you give or say, but what you embody. The semen retained and spiritual man embodies clarity, discipline, and divine connection. His very being becomes a message. This is what wholeness looks like. And for many women, just witnessing that is healing. His legacy is not measured in followers or attention, but in how many hearts he's awakened just by being who he is. When a man walks in truth, women feel it. When a man speaks from the soul, women remember it. And when a man honors his body, mind, and spirit, they respect and are moved by it long after he's gone. Semen retention cultivates purity, not in the religious sense, but in energetic hygiene. He is not diluted. He is focused. His love is not scattered. It is potent. This concentrated essence of being is what impacts others. Especially women who are natural carriers of intuitive wisdom feel that purity and reverberate with it. The impact of such a man is not loud. It is not flashy, but it is eternal. His words might fade. His appearance might be forgotten, but the soul remembers frequency. The soul remembers safety. The soul remembers truth. And a retained spiritual man walks as truth in a world full of illusions. So remember, this journey is not about gaining women's admiration. It's about becoming aligned with your higher nature. The fact that women remember you is not the goal. It's simply a sign that your energy speaks louder than your presence. And that is the essence of true spiritual masculinity. The contrast in a noisy world. In today's overstimulated world, most people operate on autopilot, rushing, scrolling, reacting. But when a man on the path of semen retention and spirituality enters the picture, he becomes a rare contrast. His calm energy feels like silence in a loud room. His slow, intentional movements feel like time slowing down. And that contrast becomes deeply memorable. Women are surrounded daily by shallow compliments, attention-seeking behaviors, and an energy that's often rooted in lust or insecurity. When a retained man speaks, his words carry weight, not because they're poetic, but because they come from depth. When he listens, it's not performative, it's genuine. This kind of attention is soul-nourishing. That contrast becomes not just refreshing, but healing. For a woman who has grown used to being looked at, but not seen, touched, but not felt, the presence of a spiritually aligned man feels like homecoming. And home is something you don't forget. Energetically, the nervous system picks up on that contrast. Her body may relax in his presence in ways it hasn't with others. Her breath slows, her voice deepens. These subtle shifts are recorded in her cellular memory. Even without understanding it consciously, her entire system recognizes that something sacred occurred. This is why, weeks or months later, the memory of him can return out of nowhere. Not because he stood out in the usual sense, but because he was the opposite of what she was used to. He felt like presence in a world of performance, and that kind of presence echoes long after it's gone. Awakening the feminine principle. When a man retains his seed and walks in spiritual purpose, he naturally begins to embody the divine masculine archetype. This isn't dominance, it's direction. Not aggression, but anchored strength. And when this is expressed with gentleness and clarity, it awakens the divine feminine in the women he encounters. Many women carry wounds, emotional, energetic, ancestral. These block their ability to feel safe, open, and soft. But in the presence of a retained and spiritually grounded man, these defenses begin to melt. She doesn't feel the need to perform. She can simply be. That feeling, being seen without judgment, triggers her own spiritual unfolding. This awakening is not just emotional, it's spiritual. The retained man doesn't try to activate anything in her, but his alignment naturally triggers something within her that remembers who she is. It's not about her being impressed, it's about her being awakened. An awakening, once started, is irreversible. She might suddenly feel drawn to her spiritual practices again, or start questioning the kind of men she's attracted to, or find herself yearning for meaning over excitement. These shifts come not from his influence, but from the echo of the awakening his presence triggered within her. And because this isn't about manipulation or charm, it feels sacred. She doesn't just remember the man, she remembers what she felt within herself because of him. That feeling becomes a lighthouse in her journey. And whenever she drifts, she remembers that moment, and it brings her back to her center. Energetic integrity and soul safety. Women, especially intuitive or spiritually aware ones, are highly sensitive to energetic integrity. They may not use that language, but they feel it. And most men, even well-intentioned ones, carry fragmented, ungrounded, or lust-driven energy. When a retained man has done the inner work, he begins to radiate integrity at a soul level, and women instinctively trust that. Energetic integrity is the alignment between thought, emotion, action, and purpose. It's when a man doesn't just speak truth, he is truth. And when a woman feels that congruence, it creates a rare sense of soul-level safety. Not physical safety alone, but emotional, spiritual, and intuitive safety. This kind of safety is not easy to find, and because of that, it becomes unforgettable. She may have met kind or attractive men before, but few made her feel this rooted. The retained man doesn't project hidden motives. His energy doesn't pull or manipulate. He doesn't try to seduce. He simply exists with divine self-respect. In the presence of such energy, a woman's soul relaxes, and that relaxation becomes associated with him. So even long after, whenever she seeks peace, she remembers him, not because of who he was, but because of who she felt herself to be in his presence. That kind of memory becomes a spiritual imprint. She might never tell him this. She may not even fully understand it herself, but it's there, etched into her field, because energetic integrity is rare. And when it's felt, it becomes a spiritual reference point, a reminder of what real love and presence should feel like. Soul contracts and timeless encounters. On a spiritual level, some connections are more than random. They are soul contracts. These are pre-birth agreements between souls to meet at certain points in life for mutual growth, healing, or activation. When a retained, spiritually awakened man and a woman cross paths, it often isn't coincidence. It's a cosmic appointment. Such meetings might be brief, unexpected, or even unexplainable, but they shake something loose in both. In the man, it may reaffirm his purpose. In the woman, it may awaken her path. These meetings can be confusing because they don't follow normal timelines. A 5-minute conversation might carry the weight of years. A semen-retained man walking the spiritual path becomes a catalyst for these moments. His high vibration naturally calls certain souls into contact, not for romance necessarily, but for evolution. And women who meet him may feel like they've known him before. That's often because they have, in other lifetimes or dimensions. These timeless encounters are not always meant to lead to relationships. Sometimes they're meant to plant a seed, sometimes to mirror a forgotten truth, sometimes to bring closure from old karma. But regardless of the reason, the impact is lasting because it's happening across soul timelines, not just linear time. This is why she remembers him, not just as a man, but as a soul catalyst. His energy wasn't just magnetic, it was activating. His presence didn't just feel good, it felt divine. And that kind of soul contact doesn't fade. It echoes through her spiritual memory like a bell that keeps ringing long after the sound is gone. So the next time you wonder if your efforts on this path are noticed, know this: they are. Not always with words, not always with praise, but deep down, on a soul level, the impact of your presence ripples through time. Your semen retention is not just for you, it's a gift to the world. Your spiritual awakening is not just a personal goal, it's a collective healing. Keep walking the path, keep rising in frequency, and know that you are becoming unforgettable, not because of desire, but because of depth. Thank you for watching. If this touched your soul, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content on semen retention, spirituality, personal growth, and the journey within. Until next time, stay radiant, stay disciplined, and stay aligned.